All right, everyone, welcome to another 90 Day Fiance recap chat. Now we're on the tell all, guys. It's before the 90 days. And for those that don't know, 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows couples, one person from the US, the other from another country. We follow them through their, everyday ups and downs as couples, distance issues, language barriers, cultural boundaries, and the whole 90-day visa process to become a citizen and to marry the person that they plan to be with forever. It's 90 Day Fiance. And again, this one is before the 90 days. The tell all, we're into part two. So we re enter the story with Niles and Matilda. And Niles is confronted by, stories he's told, things he's kind of made up and hasn't been completely honest with Matilda. And he says that his autism is a part of this reasoning. He calls it masking. And he said in her culture, if you even bring up anything about marriage, it's expected that marriage is going to happen pretty much right away. So he wasn't trying to push the issue, but once he used the word marriage, in that culture, they pushed the issue. He wasn't really trying to lie, but he lacked clarity into what he was saying. He wasn't being completely clear about the scenario. Mr. Ark shows up. He is wearing an off-the-shoulder piece from his country, looking quite sharp for that country. I assume I wasn't expecting to see the shoulder out, Mr. Ark. But anyway, Niles broke his promise when it comes to the timing of when he should be bringing Matilda to the U.S. Now he's saying he needs $8,000, which is a lot of money. He's working for the state in the mental health industry. That's his new job, so he is working. And Adnan kind of butts in a lot. He makes the topic all about him. It's like, they're talking to Mr. Ark, seeing how he feels about, Niles not bringing her back to the U.S. in a timely fashion. And, he kind of butts in. It's like, well, do you like my family? Do you root for me in my relationship? And, answer to me. I'm like, what the heck, Niles? I'm sorry, what the heck, Adnan? Honestly, it was crazy. I was surprised. Niles ends up getting up and walking off because he can't handle it. He's like, what are you doing right now? I think he said he was going to smash him in the face. Thank the Lord above, he did not smash him in the face. But you could tell, he had to go through some deep breathing exercises. At that moment, he was about to explode and go off, but he walked off. And Adnan continues to make it about him as if it's nothing. She says, I'm trying to make friends here, and I just want to be friends with people here. And then he's like, I think Brian says something like, hey, I think everybody wants the best for you and for your relationship. So then he starts to act happy about this, and he's like, hi, Mr. Ark. Like, Mr. Ark just showed up. Like, Mr. Ark's been sitting there on the camera this whole time. It's like, hi, Mr. Ark. He's acting like some very childish. Like, I don't know where he's coming from or where that's coming from. Sonny kind of defends. It's like, well, one thing that they were asking was he pressured, was Mr. Ark, because people online were saying he was pressured by Mr. Ark to marry Matilda right at that time. Sonny, he called him an old man, but he was trying to be good about it, saying, he's a grown man and he can make his own choices, and he really wanted to marry her, and the old man really helped him out. I don't really like the fact he called him an old man like that, but I guess he had good intentions. And I was just like, can Adnan go home? Matilda started crying when Adnan was having his little rant. And honestly, Niles was like, it's okay if I explode right here, but he didn't. He ended up walking off. And I was like, Tiger Lily, why don't you talk to your husband here? Everybody's trying to get him, Adnan, to back off a little bit and let the story be about Miles and Matilda. But he was like, and even Niles was like, during when you were talking about your relationship, no one was butting in like this. So why are you doing this to me and disrespecting me, my wife, and my dad. So I believe he returns, and the question comes up: did you pay Mr. Ark back? He's like, yes, he paid him back. And Mr. Ark says, I'm not really happy that you walked out of this situation. You're not supposed to just leave because that's disrespectful to the whole group just because you're mad about one person. And even Mr. Ark kind of put him in his place and say, this is not the time for you to really talk about that right now. That's not the topic, basically. But Adnan still isn't getting it, right? And Tiger Lily, after this whole episode, or this whole part of the episode, the whole session happens, and yes, Adnan has an episode. Tiger Lily calls Niles a Chihuahua dog. I'm like, why are you calling this man a dog? She's like, he's really a Chihuahua, but he's trying to act like he's a Rottweiler. And I'm like, he's really acting like a dog. Like, what are you talking about? So I thought that was rude that she even referred to him as a dog. I understand where she was going with it, but the way she came about it and the way she was putting it across, to me, was a little bit rude. So I feel like Tiger Lily and Adnan kind of deserve each other at this point. But people are trying to defend her and they say that he's so controlling. But like I said before, she is a twice his age. She's lived enough life long enough to either leave the situation if it's not working for her, or continue to stay there, or try to manipulate the situation. And in a way, she probably is doing that. So I'm sorry, I'm not worried about her. And even though Adnan has got loud, at this point in time, I don't feel that he would do domestic violence. I don't know for sure. No one knows. But I would hope if it got to that point, she would walk out. Anyway, Vanya says she's proud, at least of Niles, for walking out of the situation, because I was proud of him too. Some people are saying, well, he shouldn't have walked out. Mr. Ark wasn't happy. But I'm like, look, if you're upset about something and you need to leave, I mean, if I was Niles, I would have walked out too, because Adnan was really getting on my last nerve, acting like a little baby, a spoiled kid, making everything about him. And he is only, 23, 24. I have to keep remembering this. So Vanya out there talking to Niles. They've taken a little break. And that's what she says. She's proud of him. And then Niles makes a joke saying Mr. Ark would have used his false arm to beat Adnan if he was there. I was like, come on, Niles. I don't know if that joke was appropriate, but it was a good joke because Adnan deserves some type of something. No one deserves to be beaten, but come on, this guy, he's getting on my last nerve, and I'm not even there in the room. So I can only imagine how Niles feels. So for some reason, Bojo returns when they get back to set. Like, they don't even really talk to Bojo again during this time. So I don't even know why Bojo returned. And they're like, oh, how's your meeting, your so-called fake meeting at 10 p.m.? And he was like, it was very productive. And everybody's like laughing it off. Like, yeah, you really didn't have a meeting. Producers got him to return, and I'm wondering if the producers offered him cold hard cash. What did they offer him to get him to return? They offered him something, I'm sure, and it wasn't just, can you come back? All right, Joe and Magda, they're currently good. She recently visited the U.S. and met all of his friends and is good with all of his friends. But the weird thing is, like, well, why didn't you guys ask about, I don't know, she mentioned to Stephanie, and she's good with all the friends, and wants Stephanie and another friend, I think is a male friend, they both still connect and contact her, so she's friends with his male friends as well. So I don't think that's a bad thing, but I don't know if he feels some type of way about that or not. But why didn't they ask about the particular friend that he supposedly slept with? I thought that was weird. Was that edited out, or did they just not get to it, or will they get to it in the next 2 episodes? Like, why is it 4? Like, I'm getting a headache at this point. Like, they could have probably condensed this down to 2 for me. Like, the whole thing with Adnan, he could have just been, I'm sorry, they could have cut that out. he took up a lot of unneeded time. But yeah, they're good. And they were saying, Magna can basically handle herself. Magda, not Magna. I'm sorry, I'm doing what Joe does. And he said, I think it's because he probably called her Magna again, but he said if he acts up, Magna will cut his member. And Lauren chimes in and says, well, the dog will bite it off. And I was like, right. I was thinking about that dog. Why is he not that scared of the dog? But Magda doesn't play. I believe that, but I do think that he softened her up. Brian is a little creepy. He laughs. He kind of calls her a fireball. He chuckles. I'm like, he's creeping me out. I know he likes younger women too. Like, keep Brian away from your fiance to be, because I think we find out that he has not proposed. But like he said, Magda is a fireball, and I'm sure she'll just hurt Brian's feelings if he did try to make a play for her. They are not engaged yet. Why? Because he says she's expecting it. She's always asking, when are we going to get engaged? And he says he wants to wait till this feels right, it's natural. And she says, but it's the whole visa process is the issue. This isn't just like a regular thing. Because I'm in another country, we had to get started with this visa process, or it's going to take longer. And also that she doesn't have a job right now. She said that before. She's like waiting on him so she's not working, waiting for him. And I think that's weird. I don't think she should wait for him. He's like, she asks once a week, when are you going to propose? And she's putting her whole life on hold for this person. I'm sorry, but why can't you work a job? Like, you can just say, I'm temporarily working find a temporary job until, everything goes through with my fiance. But it's like, I think maybe she's doing that to kind of make him feel like he needs to hurry up because she doesn't have a job right now. And then Brian says, don't wait too long, because she might lose interest. And Joe's like, well, he jokes and says, well, this is like your 7th time doing it though. So, this would only be my 1st time. So that was a good one on Brian. He is feeling the pressure. And they were asking like, the reason that he was about to almost miss his flight to see her in the first place. I think he said it was his passport, but it was really some shots in his refrigerator. That was an never seen before clip. And I was like, that's weird. Is he a drunk or something? Is that what you're trying to reveal? And she almost kind of reveals, she's like, I know he likes to drink. Well, I hope that he's not a drunk and that doesn't become an issue in your relationship. In that case, you probably need to walk the other way, Magda. Hope not, for both sakes. Then they asked about the open door bathroom policy. I don't know where they're getting these questions. They're so random, and it's not connecting to me. And maybe they need to just do a show in the end where they just ask these random questions, because there was not a lot of response to it. And I think Tiger Lily says women don't do number 2 anyway, as far as she's concerned. I get it. We have to act like we don't do whatever. We don't have past gas or whatever, but we're humans. But I get what they were saying. But, I feel like it was a disconnect there. And also, they really, I guess Joe and Magda don't have much to their story. They're doing pretty well, which is a good thing. But it was, kind of boring. It's like, hey, they're back and they're doing okay, but he still hasn't proposed. And that's their issue. But I get why, and that's it. Okay, now let's go to Miss Vanya being a busybody during the break. She talks to Tiger Lily and kind of talks about the way he's kind of controlling, but she's like saying it in a nice way, and not nice, but she's just like matter of fact conversationalizing it, not making it a big issue like, hey, he's controlling you. But then Adnan comes up and he's like, hey, you need a husband? I have 14 brothers. I'll find you a husband. And she's like, well, I know I can't cover up. I'm not going to cover myself up. And, Adnan's like, I can't even look at you because she's wearing that little sparkly little piece with the low cut, straps and all that. And he's like, I can't even look at you. And she's like, well, I have to Tiger Lily, well, I have to run, I have to go do something. Like, what do you have to do? This is the tell all. There's nothing to do there but tell all. Anyway, she has to go, and she's like, well, Adnan, let me talk to you. She's like, no, he can't stay and talk to you because it's a part of our little deal that basically a part of their lifestyle as Muslims. And so they leave and whatnot. She's like, well, you can't be alone with me. You can't talk to me. And then, she says Adnan can dish it, but he can't take it. So when they get back, Vanya makes a big deal saying, oh, and I'm not stating word for word, that he basically doesn't value conversation with women because he left and didn't feel like he could talk to her just as a woman because they usually can only talk to men. But no, that's just culturally what they do. And then, like, I think Joe's like, well, like, what if you have to go to the restroom, or she has to go to the restroom and you're left alone with the woman in the house or whatever, or he's left alone with the wife. He's like, well, okay, not on the first meeting I wouldn't do that, but later on, if we become friends and build trust, okay, I would do it. It's not a big deal if I had to go to the bathroom. That's probably the only time they would separate if they have to go to the bathroom. The two of them are kind of strange. Now that they've had the baby, they have this bond with each other. Like, I'm just like, they're good for each other. Like, even though I understand their cultural thing, it's not the cultural thing that makes them strange. It's this something else that they have going that makes them strange. But yeah, continue with Sunny and Vea. We found out they broke up, and later finds out like a couple weeks later, he found out she was seeing someone else after. But she's like, I just went on a date, nothing happened, and it was because it was the dog sitter guy that she went on a date with that made him upset. Because like, hey, I thought he was just a dog sitter. Now your friends can become your potential partners. So that's what made him nervous, especially since the whole Rory situation, and he was the third wheel in this weird throuple that they didn't have, but they were kind of bonding later on, but no throuple. So he thought the dog sitter guy was just friends with her. Again, he doesn't want somebody that's just a friend to potentially become something more. And then Adnan kind of chimes in with that as well. It's like, that's kind of like why I don't want anyone to be just friends with my wife, or any man just randomly talking to my wife, vice versa, because they can get some ideas. But yeah, Vea says, actually, we're back together. We're working things out. We're the best we've ever been. And Adnan says, you need to be controlling like me and show jealousy. Like, he's like really getting mad at him and getting loud. Like, dude, another issue. I feel like he presses and pounces on people that are a little softer, because Sonny, to me, even though he can get loud with Vea and upset with Vea, he is not really that bold of a guy. And Niles can be pretty bold, but he does have autism. So I'm like, are you just pressing on certain people and kind of picking on certain people because you have a complex about yourself? Honestly, there is no really big tough guys there, so he really doesn't have anybody to be scared of. Maybe if Yoshiko was there, then maybe he could have somebody that he can fear. But since he's not actually there, I don't think it's a problem, because most of the guys on here are not really the macho machismo big guys. So Anna's gonna just play around and have his way and be loud and be obnoxious. But Sonny says, no, I'm not gonna be jealous. I'm not gonna be like that. I don't want to ruin my relationship. We've had 2 good years together, and I'm not gonna ruin that over jealousy. I'm like, okay, Sonny, that's good. So then the question comes up, can men and women be platonic? And I guess Adnan, of course, is against that. And Niles chimes in and said, basically, is if you're not a cheater, if you're not that, if it's not in you, you're not gonna cheat. And Adnan says you will want to, especially if you are, you know, being tempted by somebody's looking sexy and all that stuff, that you're gonna want to. And I think that on some level that's true with guys, and they can be tempted as well as tempt others. But I do also agree with Niles that if you're not a cheater, it's just not going to be something you do. Somebody's going to really have to try to provoke you and do an indecent proposal thing or something. Otherwise, you're just not really, that's not you. And even if they did do that, if you're not a cheater, you're not going to cheat. I feel that's true. But I do feel like some people kind of in the middle and they can be tempted. So it all depends on that person, like Niles said. So what's going on next with Sonny is his visa is going to expire in South Africa, so now he's going to go back to Bangladesh until his visa gets approved. They've submitted the paperwork for the K1, and he owes about $1,500, which doesn't sound too bad. Adnan confronts Sonny about basically having sex before marriage. That's against the Muslim belief system, and I was actually glad that he brought that up, but I still don't like Adnan. Sonny does admit that he was wrong, and Vaya defends him. It's like, hey, if you're not a strict Muslim, you don't have to be. And then Adnan starts cussing her out, basically saying, don't put that in your mouth. And Sonny steps in and says, I do religion for myself. And Adnan says, you can't just change whatever the religion is to fit you, basically. And I get what both of them are saying as far as when it comes to Sonny, he follows his religion the way he has his relationship with his religion, the way he wants to. But I feel like people of all religions can say that they kind of pick and choose kind of what they want to follow. So for one thing, Adnan is correct as far as if you're going to follow religion, you need to follow religion. You can't partially follow it or half follow it. But Sonny comes back and says, I did ask for forgiveness, and I just do the best I can with my religion. And then Adnan comes out of nowhere and says you can't marry her unless she has a religion, and they're like asking him, okay, did Tiger Lily convert to Muslims? I know she's a Christian, and I did know, and I've heard that Muslims and Christians can't marry. But I guess he's saying you have to have some type of religion. You can't just have no religion. So they were like, well, we thought you were an atheist, Vaya, and all this. And she's like, I do believe in blank Jesus. And she was like cussing, I do believe in bleeping. And then she said Jesus' name. And I was like, really? Is this some type of joke? Seriously? And even Sonny had to gasp and he laughed a bit like, seriously? But they're all cussing. Vaya cusses. And Adnan's really cussing too. Like, is that okay for you guys' religious beliefs as well? Can you guys just, spit out profanities like that? Like, I really want to know. As far as my religion, Christianity, cussing is not customary. I have yet to hear Tiger Lily use language, and she may have used it here and there, but I don't recall her here using language. But Adnan always uses language. Van and Sonny use language. So what are we gonna do? Pick and choose what's right and what's not right? And then she was like, "Well, I do believe in blank Jesus, and all respect and love to Jesus, the Savior." But that's what she said, and he's like, "Well, if you believe, then why are you having sex? Religion's not a game." And I agree with everything he said. But the way he says it, his delivery, and I feel like on his end, he does have some hypocritical ways of moving. Is your religion supposed to be respectful of everyone? I don't know fully about the Muslim culture, but do you just randomly cuss out people? Is that a part of your religious standards? Because I don't think that's good. And then Sonny comes back with that thing, she's going to change her religion over time. It's going to take her time. So we heard him say that before, and he kind of backtracked. But then, he was still saying this, and now he's saying it again, like, oh, because I thought he was gonna let her just do her and still be with her. So now he's backtracking again to like, she'll change over time. And she's like, I'm never gonna change my mind. But let's talk about this later because I'm getting confused. And he's like, well, you must follow the man. And she's like, well, we both believe in God, and that's really all that matters. Vanya definitely has to step in and defend the women's rights. And then she's like, well, what makes your religion better than hers? Why can't you convert to hers? Again, and she said, well, if we both believe in God, it's fine. We can do what we want. And Tiger Lily says, yes, you could convert if you want to. Adnan didn't force me to convert. She technically has not converted, I assume, but she looks like she's following his ways anyway, because he's saying that she's a Christian. And so I'm not sure if she's still a Christian following Muslim practices, or she's now a Muslim following Muslim practices. Not fully clear at this time. I thought I was, because I'm like, oh, okay, if Adnan and Tiger Lily can be together and she's still following Christian practices, then why does Sonny feel like he has to make her convert? So there's some confusions here that hopefully we can clear up. So basically she's saying she wasn't forced to. Tiger Lily says, in her case, she wasn't forced to convert or anything, but she acts like she knows nothing about Muslim culture at all. And she was kind of bamboozled into it, but then she's cool about the bamboozlement. So that's on her. So they asked Sonny, hey, did you talk to your dad? He's like, we talk here and there, but we're not close like we used to be. But he believes his father will forgive him. Blood is thicker than water. And I think Vanya says, my relatives wouldn't do that to me. We have different religions, and some of my cousins wouldn't even be here if we did what your dad did. And then, Veya's like, yes, thank you for that, Vanya. Yeah, I do. I don't feel like I would ever disown anyone. And even in the case where some people say, well, your relative is living in a alternative lifestyle or whatnot, I still would not throw my family members away because certain religious aspects they aren't following. Now, if they're doing some dangerous things that can put my life in danger, I'm not going to throw them away either. I'm going to pray for them, but I might have to stay away from them. But if it's something that is not going to affect my ability to survive and live along with my family members and relatives, if I don't have to protect myself from that person and they're just living certain preferences that they want to live, I will talk to them. I will pray for them. I may not agree with them, but I'll still love them. I'll still have them in my life. And in some ways, I may have to redefine that relationship, but I'm not going to discard anyone. And I'm going to ask God to lead me in the best way to move with that. But, when it comes to the dad, Joey starts to, defend the dad and say, he's older, you need to respect his religion. You could have just covered her tattoos. She's like, yes, I do regret doing that. And I think they were asking what he's going to do going forward. And he said right now he's blindly in love. And, he's going to kind of continue to be with Vea despite what his family thinks. And once they have kids and everything, hopefully his dad will come around and forgive them. So it's going to take that to get back in the family's good graces, I assume. Adnan says, you're wrong. You're living the wrong lifestyle. You'll continue to cheat and all that stuff. And then Vea's like, who's cheated? I didn't cheat. She's like yelling. And Tiger Lily's trying to stand up for Vea. I felt like she did a bit. She was saying, well, she was trying to explain to Adnan that she didn't cheat, but she went on a date with someone. Like, well, why didn't you stand up for Niles and their situation? And she's like, she really does believe that, that was behind the scenes. She really believes that Matilda's using Niles, but why? And she doesn't even think Niles has autism. Like, What's going on with you, Tiger Lily? She's to me kind of delusional in a lot of ways, and that's why she was able to marry this guy out of nowhere and not know half of his customs. She's quite delusional. I don't know. Maybe a little insensitive, and maybe she has some other things going on, some other levels that I'm not gonna pinpoint unless I have some proof. All right, Brian and Ingrid. Ingrid, basically, Brian's like, Ingrid wasn't ready for his wheelchair lifestyle. She treated him like a son, treated him like a baby, was nervous every time he made a move. But I'm like, hey, so what? I'm just like, at least she gave a care. To me, she gave a care, but didn't. Like, she was like, I'm not gonna, I'm not going to make concessions for everything he needs because I need a fully functional, self-sufficient person, which I totally get that. But they didn't really cover that in this take of the episode. But basically, that she was just babying him. So people aren't used to you being in a wheelchair. They're going to act differently. You're supposed to really just try to get them acclimated to it. Don't act like a jerk and act like people are supposed to expect, okay, we know you've been in a wheelchair for 25 years and you're used to that. But you can't expect your new partner that you just met for the first time to be like totally get it. Then they talk about the whole condom scenario where he didn't have a condom. So he was going to do some other sexual act with her instead, and she was not having that. But I'm glad he gave a little more details as to what happened when the cameras left. But Adnan said, why'd you set him up like that? They showed the little clip where she was wearing the lingerie and everything. And people are like, well, and even Tiger Lily's like, well, you had your stuff coming out. It's not just like a bikini. You had your stuff coming out. And to me, I thought that was a little rude. But it was true, though, honestly. It was on the camera and it was behind the scenes in the room. It wasn't in front of everybody. I don't agree with that. What happened, what was done. But I kind of agree with the fact that she stopped him. But anyway, everyone's acting like, well, since she was sitting there in the position almost ready to give herself to this man, that she should deliver. And I was like, no. And even Vanya and some other people say she doesn't have to deliver. She could change her mind at any time just because she was in that position wearing what she was wearing. No. And then he said, I think Brian said she asked to stop for condoms. So she seems like she was really up to do something with me. And she was like, I don't think I did that on that trip. That time, or at least when that happened that night, I'll say. She said, I don't think I did that night. She's basically, he said she stopped him when the cameras left and said, basically, I have a boyfriend. And so she said, no, I didn't say that. And he's like, she's probably not going to admit this. I feel like, well, she lied because she said at the time I wanted to I said I was seeing somebody because I didn't know how to get out of this scenario. Girl, you just wanted to get out of it. You didn't want to do anything with them, okay? Then she's going to say, well, I'm in the medical industry now. Says that he could have an STD and you can get STD from someone's mouth. And Lauren shouts gonorrhea. So that was a fun moment. But honestly, girl, Ingrid, you knew you didn't want to do nothing with this man. When the cameras left, you just put everything to a halt because I feel like she never was gonna do nothing with him. Even though she did later say, my family taught me not to just sleep with somebody like the first week you meet them. I agree, it was fast. But I also feel like if you felt pressured, you shouldn't even put on lingerie. You should have just left. If you felt that was too soon, why did you get into a compromising position? Was it for the cameras? So to me, she's giving me vibes that she was doing things for the camera. And even though I thought Brian was kind of creepy and grimy, I don't agree with you doing things for the camera, just for the camera. If you really care about somebody, be real about it. This is a reality show. We're watching expecting to see something real and not a put on. So don't come on the show with a put on. Then Brianna, Brian's daughter, she voices her concerns. And she said this is basically like an extreme blind date. She didn't feel this was love. Um, and then they point out that uh, Ingrid is almost the same age as his daughter by a year difference. And they were like, well, don't you think it's weird dating women that's like your daughter's age? And I know men do it all the time, but he was like, I think Vanya brought that out, and he was like, she was like, that's probably why it's not working. He's like, well, it hasn't worked with people my age either. The lies, and they talk about the lies that he had as far as him not telling her he was a drug dealer, not telling her how he got in this wheelchair, not telling her he had multiple engagements and wives. And he does this test to see if the women can handle his disability. So they kind of went back over that. The daughter basically says it was cringy, and she said, you can't really learn a whole lot about somebody on these video chats. You can only, and she said, I think Ingrid said, you only see the good parts on the video chat, and that's right. If you can't do the video chat, you're just like, babe, let me get you at this other time, and you can just come on and call and talk whenever it's convenient and right for you, and you can be that happy person all the time. And then when they talked about the whole drug dealer thing, and Lauren's like, what, isn't it normal to have drug dealers around you? And people are like, no. He's like, well, that's what I was used to. Lauren just wanted to say something. She didn't know his age. He's like, I told her, I think I mentioned, yeah, we don't know. I kind of think he didn't. She asked why the 4 wives, and he's like, why do you have 2 babies' daddies? And Ingrid's like, I'm not gonna play this tit for tat game. Shots fired. I'm not gonna keep firing shots. It's never gonna end. Totally get it. I understand what she's doing. I think she's being respectful at this time. I don't know if she's always, I think she played a part. She said she had feelings for him, but I'm not sure if she had those type of feelings. It was like a little bit of feelings and a little bit of camera. And guys, I did find out, me and my niece were looking it up, and money is involved when it comes to this show. So at some point we may talk about that, and you guys may already know, but money is involved. So at this point, they supposedly both have moved on, and Sean, the hostess, she's like, do you think your dad should slow down after the end of this relationship? And she's like, yeah, I pretty much think he should slow down, take some time for himself, but he's not going to do that, and he hasn't done that because next time we're going to meet his girlfriend. Now it's, break time again. Everybody looks like they're eating. And getting really tired of Adnan. I think Vanya and Niles are talking. After they eat, they come back in. They start talking. And then Adnan comes in. It's like, it's not nice to meet you. It wasn't nice to meet you. Like, dude, the tell-all isn't even over. Is it? Is this just the way they edited it or something? Maybe it was about to be over. So Niles kind of gets in Adnan's face. It's like, how could you be disrespectful like that in front of my dad? Like, I respect your dad or whatever, Adnan. He's like, one day, basically, so you're going to mess with the wrong one. At the end, it's not going to end the way that you anticipate it to end. But we're at our end right now for the tell-all part 2. A little bit like feeling like you guys tried to stretch this out too far, a little bit annoyed. What are your thoughts, comments, questions? Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com. I want to get to Vanya and Yoshiko, and after that I'm kind of basically done. I can't see what else needs to be said and talked about here. But what are your thoughts? Talk to you guys next time. All the best. God bless.